Alright, so this is episode 6
indeed.
of Sqwadcast. By the way, that's what it's called, Sqwadcast. This episode we are going to be talking about comedy, different perspectives. We have two comedians and two, I guess, audience, civilians. I don't know what to call
What you want to call us that?
Non-performers.
Stand-up audience.
Yeah. So, of course, I'm Tim. We'll just go down and introduce ourselves. So,
I'm Dan Marcy Caper. I'm a comedian from Baltimore. I've been performing for a little over 3 years.
David Mendelson. Never been a comedian, but can appreciate someone who has comedic abilities.
And I'm always funny, and my name's Blake. You'll hear me every week here. So.
Yeah. So the first question we're going to talk about is, what is a comedian? What is our definition of a comedian? See different perspectives on that. Is with the boom of social media, which we talked about in episode 2, I think, are the people who just write one-liners on Twitter like considered comedians? Are the writers of a show more the comedians than the performers? Is a comedian more of a stand-up comedian versus like someone who's just a funny actor? Stuff like that. So what are your guys' thoughts on what exactly is a comedian?
Well, I think a comedian is definitely, first and foremost, someone who can make you laugh. And second, someone who has their own unique way of delivering material. Not just something like, I know you were mentioning social media, and someone who will just take someone else's joke and try to claim it as their own or try to put their own spin on it. But
Amy Schumer! That's something
We'll get into that shortly.
The list is a lot longer than that.
Yeah, Dan.
Well, you got, like, I think, like, the big ones would be, like, stand-up comedians, which is, like, what I do, and there's improv comedians, and then I think, like, YouTube comedians, and I guess you would call them Twitter comedians. I just see it more as, like, different ways of being a comedian. I think a lot of people on Twitter are talented, but I don't know that I would, like, put that on the... Some people are really good writers, though.
Yeah, that's the line I was curious about. Is a comedian like an umbrella term, and these different forms fit under it, or is it comedian and then, like, because I know there's a lot of funny, like, I'm a fan of, what's her name, Grace Helbig, but it's hard for me to consider her a comedian because, like, to my knowledge, she's never gone on stage and told jokes. Like, it's always, like, YouTube, or, like, she's really funny on Snapchat, too. But, like, it's just a different way of being funny.
Yeah.
So.
I think it kind of appeals to today's generation because a lot of times people don't just want to sit there and watch something like on TV. They want to watch little snippets on like Twitter or social media, Snapchat, and they'll see like the GIFs and all those things, and that's kind of what they want to see. Those are comedians to them.
Twitter's not really show business though. That's like
Twitter's like anybody can go on.
YouTube kind of is, you know.
YouTube can be, right? Because you can
definitely
get into it. I don't know the details of doing that.
I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of people that are specifically on YouTube to be funny, kind of like some kind of variation of a comedian. I don't know if that really exists as much, but I mean, like, there's outlets for comedy through YouTube. Like, I know me personally, like, I watch a lot of people who play video game like playthroughs, or they'll play with like other YouTubers and stuff like that, and then they're funny while they're doing that. You know, there's some kind of outlet, but it's not like they're just going up there and just telling jokes on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little bit different. And would I consider them comedians? I don't know. I consider them more entertainers than anything. You know, the same thing with like streaming too. You know, people who stream and are funny when they're streaming, I consider them entertainers more so than I consider them comedians, because their main focus is to entertain people, not to make them laugh.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess when it comes to it, it's the purpose would be to make someone laugh versus just being funny as like more of a side effect.
Right. I think that's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Right. So I want to see what you guys' thought is on late night hosts as well. Craig Ferguson, obviously one of my favorite comedians.
Mine
but
too.
He's released specials, so obviously he's a comedian. He's written his own specials and released them. But like Jimmy Fallon, who else is Colbert is on there now. Trevor Noah has also done specials, so I guess he'd be his own comedian too. But are those other guys like Fallon and Conan and stuff, are they comedians or are they just a funny outlet for the writers who are actually funny to get their jokes through?
Well, Fallon and Conan O'Brien definitely were performers. They like.
I mean, Fallon was, but he was an improv guy, so I guess he's in that.
Well, he has he did an album, like all those a lot of like impressions and songs and stuff. From what I heard.
They did on a show. Those.
That's like it's like it comes up on Pandora, so I haven't heard the whole thing yet.
Yeah.
I was under the impression Stephen Colbert came from improv, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think he did. He was on like 2 episodes of Who's Line back in the day.
Oh, that's right.
Way back in the day. So I think he did start with an improv group, but I guess that's where do you officially become a comedian? It's a new question, I guess. Like you can start off something. Well, no, I consider improv like, I guess, a type of comedy. Obviously, it's a type of comedy.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, the line from starting off to your career, I guess, is the question I was trying to ask.
I guess it kind of comes down to one of the ways I think of it is how many people you're performing in front of. If you're performing in front of just a small group of friends rather than feeling comfortable in front of a large audience to where you're actually making a lot of people laugh, I feel like that starts kind of making you more towards that comedian rather than just trying to be starting up to be that performer. But
technology makes it a little weird though. It's like when I was in LA last summer, I went to this place called I heard of this place called World Comedy Club, and I was like, well, that's pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
But I got in touch with the guy and he booked me immediately and said I could do 10 minutes, which I was like, wow, okay. So I'm gonna check this out. And then I got there and it was in his condo. But there was I was like, maybe I should leave, but there was other people there and I was like, I'm just gonna feel this out and see,
I think he was about to feel you.
He had he had a legit stage set up in there and everything, but the way that they did it was mostly for an online audience, using Periscope.
Oh, yeah.
So really it was just the booker and me and the other comedian. That was everybody who got booked. And then 70 some odd people who were watching the stream.
Yeah.
So it was one of the weirdest sets I ever did because I went up and I was like, well, you know what? I'm not. It's free publicity.
Yeah.
So I went up and then you're basically on stage, but I was looking at an iPad and watching a live chat. People responding in real time.
That must be really hard, though.
It was weird because there's no laughing to respond to.
Yeah.
I feel that's big
but there's
for
people
that,
writing haha, lol. I'm like, well, that's kind of something. And then at one point during my set, one of the guys somebody watching said something in response to a joke, and I kind of riffed off of that a little. And then somebody found me on Twitter, and I was so, I mean, it's not regular show business. It's certainly not my favorite kind.
Well, yeah.
But it was weird though, yeah.
You think that
must be the weirdest?
Yeah, that must be.
I can't even imagine, because your whole outlet as a stand-up comedian is to watch an audience's reaction.
Oh yeah.
You have no idea if your joke's bombed or not.
Yeah.
In that set, people can type LOL and haha all they want, but are they actually laughing? Was it actually funny to them?
I don't. That's one thing that I think is challenging for people who are doing comedy stuff on YouTube. Because especially if they've never performed in front of a live audience, they can get away with being crazy obnoxious, and then if you just try doing that on a live stage and see how that goes.
Yeah. I've seen, and I've done it a couple times. So I've tried to go off something, and then I end up going off what I prepared, and then it just ends up bad.
Yeah.
And I feel in YouTube you don't have no one to get you back on track. If I say a joke and I'm okay, that didn't land. I'm okay, I'll go back to what I'm comfortable with and try to get back on track. Whereas, what you were saying, doing it for Periscope or, on YouTube, it's kind of weird because you have if you don't know where that line is bombing. And
I guess you go into it thinking, all your stuff is gold.
Yeah.
And then you basically...
you wrote it, you're like, this is
exactly.
The shit,
Yeah, I don't got anyone to tell me different.
Yeah.
And then you find out from the comments, I think there's a difference between someone going LOL and then when they put ha 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 in all capitals. that's to me when I'm okay, this is actually funny compared to they're just trying to humor me kind of thing.
Yeah. I got a LaMayo.
Yeah, definitely not to look down on YouTube performers though, because I've tried doing some stuff on YouTube and I was putting on a lot of videos towards the end of last year, and it's a whole it's kind of nerve-wracking because you don't have like the feedback from the audience. So I was like, I hope this is funny.
But at the same time, I feel like what Tim does. Tim uses YouTube as kind of a outlet for what he already does, right? You know, like, I mean, okay, I guess you used your Facebook originally when you
Facebook, Twitter, and
when you would post some of your live sets.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
the videos of
but
that.
Yeah,
you know
those are sets in front of an audience. So.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so you use that video that you took of you actually doing, you know, a stand up, and there's a live audience there that's actually laughing in real time and all that stuff. You put it up online, and then you can reach more people, more specifically in the area as of right now, you know, to like come out and see him. Whereas, like, if you're just strictly performing on YouTube, you don't have that live interaction, and everyone knows the comments section on YouTube is absolute cancer. So, I mean, like, can you take any of that stuff and be like, yeah, no, I feel good about myself? Or is it just, you know, you're taking it with a grain of salt? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, dude, you're really funny, blah, 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 blah. You're like, oh my god, this guy wrote a really thoughtful, thought-out comment about my stand-up, and at the bottom it says, like, subscribe to me, and you're like, fuck, you didn't give a shit. He copied and pasted this shit. You know, like, it's a bunch of malarkey sometimes. I mean, again, just...
I didn't do well enough on YouTube to get that many comments to begin with.
But I mean, like I said, like again, like you said, actually, you know, not to downplay anyone who's performing on YouTube. If that's what you're doing, that's working for you, do it. But for someone who's doing who strictly wants to do stand up, I don't really see that.
It doesn't.
Helping.
Yeah, it doesn't translate. I think all the people on YouTube are performers, not necessarily comedians. They have some sort of thing that they relate to, a genre. Like, I think there was on Nickelodeon, 5-10 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember Fred.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Like, he got his own TV show just from him doing stupid, and I put this in quotes, funny stuff on YouTube, and people were responding well to how he was performing, so he got his own TV show out of it.
Right.
And
I guess that's more along the lines of sketch comedy, right? Like, these people are, I guess, writing their own bits and then performing it, like Schmosh or Schmosh, whatever, Nigga Higga, like those people, right? Like they did sketch comedy, or like even throwback to what was that called? Derek comedy, the one with Donald Glover, who was in it. I don't know if you guys ever remember that, but like that's sketch comedy that was posted on there. And while that's still comedy, we were talking about, is it the performers that are funny, or is it the people writing it who are the actual comedians?
Right.
And then the performers, the pathway to kind of get their message across or their comedy across.
It's a mix though, because I mean, the writing and the performing both takes a lot of like comedic intelligence. You know?
Right. Yeah. To be successful.
Right.
That
Well,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can just do it.
Yeah. But I don't know. With Fred, I feel like there was no real talent there. Sorry.
there wasn't, and that's why I think his show got canceled pretty quick.
Yeah, and
well, I guess if you go to a stand-up open mic, you'll see a lot of people who I don't know if you would consider them comedians.
Yeah.
You know
I mean,
what
I've been to the. I don't know if I should say that. It doesn't really matter.
Name names.
I mean, I've been to Wits End, and I've seen on Tuesdays and seen the open mic nights all time. And yeah, sometimes I definitely agree with that. Some people really aren't comedians.
Because open mics, anybody can sign up.
Right, exactly.
So.
Which is cool. Like perform, like have a good time. But like also, if you're gonna do an open mic, at least hopefully be funny before you.
Well, yeah.
Or like someone has to tell you, like, dude, you're really funny, and not like yeah, you're really good at singing. You should audition for American Idol. Don't do that. Like.
Sidebar one night, this guy walked in, just off the street, was like...
Oh, of course, right.
No idea how many drugs he was on, but he was like completely out of his mind, and then starts like heckling whenever. And so the hosts are like, there was 2 hosts, and they were like trying to explain to him what's going on. And he's like, oh, I can sign up? And then yeah, and so they let him go on, and it was just like the most insane... like incoherent rants I've ever heard, and it was amazing. And then they had to like tell him when it was over, like, all right, you're done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider him a performer by any stretch.
Right.
He just was a man with a microphone, which happens a lot.
Yeah, like open mics is a strange place because like most people are working on material. Like I've obviously repeated sets there. I'm sure Dan, you've done the same. You know, you try material to make it work and even it out and stuff. So it's like, and it's also mostly comedians in the room. So like in and out, you know, and stuff like that. So it's hard to judge what's funny and what's not. But then there is that line of like, okay, you're not like you're rambling right now. Like you got off topic and you couldn't get back on.
For open mics, like when I'm trying new stuff, most of it doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, if it's like brand new stuff.
Brand new, yeah. You probably, you wrote it down, probably practiced it or performed it in your head a few times. And then you get on stage and you're like, okay, that didn't really work as I thought it would.
Like, oh, everybody hates me now.
So a question before you guys go on, how much do you practice your bits before you feel like comfortable with it to perform it?
Jesus. I mean, I go over it in my head. That's just what I do.
So you don't ever like verbalize it out loud?
I sometimes I do, like in my car and stuff, because like it's a good place to be, you know. So I'll say it out loud, and then sometimes I make myself laugh, and I think it's funny. And so I'll like say it again, and in my head I kind of get it down, and then on stage is when I do it. So I don't. I mean, I do online dating stuff. I've done that quite a few times because one, it's topical, like most people are online dating nowadays, and two, it's stuff that I've worked on a lot, so I have a lot of. It's going to sound a little pretentious, but like a lot of layers to it. Like I've added more to that topic, so I work on that and developing the whole subject up on dating. So I mean, I guess I'll perform it a few times. I haven't. I think Dan, you've done more than I have because I've only hit open mics. You've been hosting.
Oh yeah.
And doing more than me. So
over 3 years. Yeah, I don't have like a hard and fast process like or rule for like how I go through the process. I definitely in my car am like frequently like running through like bits and stuff. If it's dark outside, then I'm more like comfortable like and really into it. If I'm home alone, I'll like do it as well. But sometimes I don't know. Like I did this at an open mic last week. I did this story that I've been sitting on for a while, and I have no ending for. So it's not really a good punchline, but I just wanted to see how the setup did. So I just did the setup, and it went pretty well, and then it just like kind of petered out. And I was like, sorry. Next thing.
No, I feel that too, because there's a story from my first year of college I like to tell. And I think it's a really funny story, everything that happened, but there is, like you said, there's no like definite ending. It just kind of...
Grilled cheese?
And yes, grilled cheese girl. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, that's a good story. I like that story a lot. And there's other stories.
That's a funny story.
Yeah. And then there's the story from, I did a talent show at Towson. The third time I ever did stand-up, there's a girl...
New Jersey?
Yeah.
Baghdad or whatever it was?
Yeah. I guess I need to explain, because it's... There was a girl, I joke about how New Jersey, because I'm from New Jersey, and they did a survey of Newark, New Jersey is the most hated city in the entire world.
Oh, wow.
Like, the world. And number 2 was Islamabad, Pakistan. And I was saying this joke, and this girl started laughing like crazy, and the girl next to her is like, she's from Islamabad.
Oh, right.
So she was right front row, right in the middle, and I'm like, oh, man, you know? So, like, I like to tell that story, too, because it's like, usually it's a little more better than this. Like, I say everything that happened and set it up a little differently.
That set worked perfectly, man.
That was
great.
I peaked.
You did it.
Yeah, 3 years ago, I peaked at Towson
Now you're just
University.
living in the afterglow.
Exactly. I go to open mics to see the upcoming talent.
Yeah.
Where I was back in the day.
Newark,
These young
New Jersey.
whippersnappers.
Yeah. These millennials.
Oh, God. I don't like
Even though I'm
those.
like the youngest on it, most of the open mics. I see like a few of like the hosts and the older guys who've been doing it for a while and working on it and telling about different gigs, and I'm just like, oh, there's a lot I haven't done yet.
Do you, when you're like, you said you make yourself laugh sometimes?
Yeah.
Do you ever do that on stage?
On stage, It's sometimes, and then sometimes it's to the reaction of the audience too that I'll laugh at. Like sometimes a lead up to a joke is funnier than the actual punchline. So like they'll laugh, and I'm like, oh, you guys actually thought that was really funny. Like,
I usually don't make myself laugh, but once I told a joke at a show and it was so stupid and nobody laughed, but I thought it was really funny because the punchline is just like, "Wah!" And it's the only time I've ever done this where I said the punchline, I immediately busted out laughing. Everybody was stone-faced, and then I started laughing harder, and then I snorted into the microphone,
And then
and it was just like a lost cut.
no.
nobody laughed.
They hated
God.
me.
yeah.
I was having a great time though, so it was a win for me.
Well, that's actually a good question. Do you guys like it when a comedian laughs on stage?
I do.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think it seems more genuine.
Yeah, if
You
it's
know,
if
like-
it's authentic.
Yeah, you're a human. Like, you're allowed to laugh too.
Yeah.
You're not, some like programmed robot that like tells jokes up on stage, and like you said, if it's genuine, if it's forced laughter like from them themselves,
Or like
that-
nervous from bombing laughter.
I think
that's
if
also
a-
fine. I get that. At least it's
Well,
genuine.
I guess it depends on
right?
the scenario though. Because
I
I've
think
seen
if a comedian. Oh, I just completely interrupted you.
Yeah.
It's my podcast now.
Dan Cast.
I've seen like on America's Got Talent people who will they'll make it through the first like audition stage, and then on the second or even on the live shows they'll bomb, and then they start like nervously laughing, and I feel like when you start to nervously laugh, it kind of throws it off.
Oh,
then
yeah.
You start to know you're bombing, and then they start to know you're bombing. And
I think there's a difference though between the nervous laugh and then the laugh where you're like, okay, like they actually can't control their laugh.
yeah, because it is funny.
And I think if you have a really funny comedian laughing at their joke as they're saying it, you're like, all right, this is going to be a really funny joke.
I think maybe also there'd be a limit though, because if it was like someone just like laughing through their whole set, like you need to
Not that-
practice
yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just practice more so that you're used to it, so that everybody
Yeah.
else can enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let the joke not be
Right.
funny to you anymore before you go up on stage.
Especially if you do like a certain kind of persona. It's like I think if you were doing like a low key like Stephen Wright type thing, it'd be really jarring for like suddenly bust out laughing.
There's a couple of examples that like come to mind when you say when comedians laugh at themselves and like if I mind it or not. Well, one is obviously you know who I'm about to say, Crystal Leo.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Roseanne.
No. Oh yeah. No, you're right.
Crystal, of course.
He always laughs at his own jokes, but that's who he is. He's this goofy, wacky dude who is constantly in his own head and laughing at his own jokes, even if you don't think they're funny. He thinks they're funny, and he doesn't give a fuck what you think. So that's cool because it's super genuine and it's very much to his character, right?
In character as a person, not like
Right, not a stage presence, like
Yeah.
fake persona or whatever.
alter ego.
Yeah, and the second one actually is Kevin Hart, and he doesn't laugh a lot at himself, but there's one, I don't remember which special it was, but it was the one where he was talking about Shaq, and like when he was falling over, like how Shaq falls over, and it was the only reason he did that joke was because Shaq and LeBron were in the the theater, like watching, right? And he just wanted to like rip on Shaq and do some crowd work or whatever, and him laughing at his own joke that he made up on the spot, which I think he made up on the spot. It seemed like he did, was hilarious because it was genuine. And I'm fine with that. But like if you're writing down your jokes and your set and you're like ha 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 dick stuff, and then you write in parentheses like laugh here, then we have an issue.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Something like I don't.
I
That's not
think,
okay.
yeah, I think one that.
But that's not very prevalent.
Yeah.
so.
I don't think I can't think of anyone I've ever seen who like
I'm sure
Yeah.
you have, but
planned laughter.
I'm sure you have.
I kind of want to try that.
But the
Tell a really bad
We're gonna
joke
be
and then
onto
just.
But see, that could be funny in
Everybody will
itself.
think I'm
like,
insane.
if you play it off well. But I mean, at the same time, like it's also not genuine. So like, I guess a lot of people could hate you for it. I don't know, but like you said, like you don't think there's anyone. I'm sure we've seen people that have done it. They either do it one of two ways. They either do it so poorly that you're like, I'm never watching these people again, or this person again. Like, this is horrible. Or 2, they did it so well that it seemed like it was genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really tell the difference.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there are 2 exact moments that come to mind. One is the Chris D'Elia when in his Incorrigible special, where he does the little kid voice.
Yeah.
And he does it for the first time, and I don't know, maybe it's the first time he's doing it, or the first time he, like, hears himself do it, because sometimes, I don't know, if, Dan, sometimes you tell a joke and you're kind of, like, so on the joke, you don't realize how you're sounding out loud. Maybe that happened to him. But he does it, and then he pauses and laughs. And I think that, like, that was a good moment, because it's like, that was genuine. And then in John Mulaney's special, The Comeback Kid, he calls out a guy on his cell phone, right? And then he, like, works him a little bit, and then he laughs, because he says a one-liner, and then it, like, hits him how stupid it sounds, and he laughs. You know, so, stuff like that, I guess, is better, because most of the time it is improv. Like, you say a line or say something off the cuff that you weren't planning, and I think.
Did you watch Mike Birbiglia's new special?
I haven't yet.
There's a point where he goes into the audience to, like, he was asking, like, has anybody here ever been arrested? And he wants to, like, give a story. And he winds up talking to, like, the stupidest, like, douchiest guy who just, like, gives this really, like, stupid answers. And so it winds up, like, derailing the question and answer. And then he's just interrogating this man, like, and he's, like, losing it. And it's pretty, I mean, it's definitely, like, unplanned, like, authentic, like, and then finally he just, like, gives up and goes back up on stage. But it's like one of the best moments in that whole thing. Thank God for Jokes. I think that's what it's called.
Thank God. Yeah.
Highly recommended.
It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll put it in my...
I got to see him
Yeah.
do that set in Baltimore
Oh,
a couple years ago. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
yeah, I think because I've seen 3 comedians live. Most recently I saw Tracy Morgan, which was an experience.
He's good.
He is good, but coming out of almost death,
That's true.
you can kind of tell he was off a little bit, and he still hadn't gotten back, but he was still really funny. I saw Brett Morin earlier this year.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, and then,
January, I think.
yeah, I think it was around January, and then Chris D'Elia last summer in Philly. And they're, like, I think seeing them, you kind of see more of like, a special is funny, but it's stuff they've
It's
worked
so
on.
much different.
Yeah, going to see them live, there's a little, like, Chris D'Elia tore apart a woman for the last 20 minutes of his set. Yeah,
I literally did not stop laughing that entire set. Like, literally, I was laughing for an hour and 20 minutes. Or whatever it was. Even his opener was fucking hilarious.
his opener is really funny too.
Well, that it happened. My wife and I saw John Mulaney in DC. Was the stuff that wound up being The Comeback Kid, but
Okay.
he got a heckler in the audience at one point, and it was a random, like, he was, like, in the middle of a joke, and this guy near the front was just like, "Fuck you," like, out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and then so he stops and he's like, "It's like, are you okay?" And then and the guy's like, "Wow." He's like, "No, I know, fuck me, but are you okay?" And then he spent like 10 minutes like just taking this heckler down, and it was one of the most amazing things. And he's obviously, like, he's embarrassing the people who are with him now, and then he starts, like, making, like, comments to the other side of the audience about the guy. He's like, "Oh, this guy," like, it's really funny. The guy shut up and sat there for the rest of the show.
That's surprising that they didn't kick him out.
I know. Well, he once that it started, he just, like,
Yeah.
shriveled up.
Oh, yeah, because all eyes were on him.
Yeah.
Acting is I never got that mindset.
I don't get it.
I'm going to pay this amount of money to see someone and then yell at them while they're on stage.
Unless they're drunk, because then I
It's
understand
always
when
drunk,
because
yeah.
then that
Well,
always
why are you
happens.
like
always
drunk?
I was about to say, like, even if you're, like, super drunk, I mean, maybe this is just coming from me, like, when I'm super drunk and I go to, if I ever went to a comedy show, I don't think I would do that, because consciously I'm like, this guy's performing, I'm not, I'm gonna shut the fuck up. But, like, these people must have it, like, deep-rooted in them. They're just like, I want to fucking say something. Why?
Yeah.
Shut up. Sit there. Shut the fuck up. Don't say anything. You know those are the people that are, like, if you're watching the fucking premiere of Game of Thrones, he's the guy who's, like, giving you the John Madden of everything that's going on, you know? He keeps talking over it. It's like, dude, you need to shut up and just watch the show. It's the same person. Or, you know, you go to the movie theater and you're watching, you know, whatever the fuck it is, Life. and he's like, "Oh no, here comes Ryan Reynolds." It's like, you need to shut the fuck up. That's the same person.
It doesn't register with
Promise
some
you.
people, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
like
you're in public. We're all watching something. Shh.
I'm just picturing John Madden comment on Game of Thrones now. Here come the White Walkers. Whoop!
See, they go here and then BAM! Attack Hardhome. Whatever the place was called.
Brett Favre.
you gotta throw Brett Favre in there.
Yeah. Tough active to active.
Oh man.
Sponsored.
My father-in-law is a super energetic man and always like engaging people, kind of crazy. And he came to a show that I was doing in New York City, and so starting a few weeks in advance, me and other people were like, "Hey, so listen, this is considered heckling, and it's not cool. Like, you know, anything that disrupts the show is considered heckling." And he doesn't understand why it's not allowed. But he was like, "Okay, I'll be fine, whatever." And then he came to the show, and at the window they asked, "Are you a comedian?" And so he's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, what's your name?" And he gives them a fake name. The name was Steve Miller. And then they thought that I was Steve Miller. And then Steve Miller didn't have, it was like a bringer show. And so Steve Miller, like, obviously nobody showed up because he wasn't supposed to be on the show. They weren't running a tight ship because, I mean, like, they should have had a list of comics. And so then they pulled me into an office and they're like, "Listen, we're still going to let you go up. But, you know, you don't have anybody here." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I have like 15 people." And I'm like, "Wait, what's your name?" And I told them, they're like, "Oh." And so then they finally wind up doing an announcement from the stage, like, "Is Steve Miller here?" And then my father-in-law starts laughing or whatever. And this is before the show's even started. And I was like, "What is wrong with you? You had one job. Like, there was one thing we asked you not to do." He found a loophole.
So I guess this would be a good time to get into the big subject.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Plagiarism.
Oh, jeez.
Because obviously I'm going to try to stay objective, but hey, it's my podcast, so I can say what I want. Amy Schumer is the biggest one right now of being accused of plagiarism. I don't want to say she did or didn't, but
yes.
There's a lot of videos out there comparing her special, even her newest special, to other specials. Obviously, she's not the first one. You know, like Dane Cook's been accused of it, Carlos Mencia, and a few of them. So, I guess there's a video I saw of Amy Schumer was doing like press release for Trainwreck, and she was in this theater talking on the mic, and she was like, "Time for one more question." And the guy was like, "Why did you steal those jokes?" And she was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know I was the first one to joke about a guy and a girl's relationship." And the crowd went wild because they're like, "Oh, what a clapback!" But I was like, "Not really." It's a pretty weak clapback. But like, where is that line of a topic? Because I saw something on Facebook where it's like a topic is, I forget the exact line they used, but it's the topic. Anybody can joke about the topic, but it's the punchline that's copyrighted. And I'm gonna make a pretty comparison here. Like I have jokes about football, and I know Chris D'Elia has jokes about football. Two different ways of looking at football. So I'm not
big time.
Yeah, I'm not joking about. I'm not taking his jokes and doing them at Wits End. You know, Tuesday nights at 9. You know, it just the way. So where's that line of plagiarism? Blake and David, if like you have thoughts of what you see Dan as a performer, your insight from that. Thoughts on plagiarism? You know, do you think joke stealing is big? Like, where's that line of topic to actual joke stealing?
I think it's a pretty big deal because if you guys take the time to write the jokes, I hear you do them and then I go do it myself. I don't think that makes you a comedian. I think that just basically you're taking a shortcut and it's like you're not the person that's actually funny, right, you know? Right. I see like stuff on Twitter all the time. They'll be like white girl tweets or like a bunch of these fake these parody accounts.
Common white girl.
Yeah, like those ones that will literally, I'll see one person retweet something, then 5 minutes later I'll see someone retweet from a different account the exact same thing. Right. And I'm like if you're supposed to be a parody account, like think of your own, like don't just pass things around, you know? I just think it just takes the genuineness out of a joke if it's just getting passed around, you know?
Absolutely.
People who intentionally steal other people's material, I feel like are like some of the worst people.
Oh, absolutely. If you intentionally do it.
Like
yeah.
people who steal other people are the worst. And like people who steal other people's jokes are like second. But it's just like there's a lot of like not even gray areas, but just like, and you might think you have a joke that's like, oh, this is amazing, and then it's like, oh, everybody tells that joke. I'm not as original a thinker as I thought I was. Because I used to do a joke that I thought was really funny, and then I heard some lady doing it at I did it in Baltimore, and I was doing it for a while, and I was still pretty new. But I was like, yeah, that's my joke. And I went to a mic in DC, and I heard a lady do it, and I was like, I've never even met her. Why is she using my jokes? And then I went to a different show and heard a third guy. I'm like, oh, I'm just not that good yet. And then the worst one was... So last summer I got to be in the Burbank Comedy Festival, which is like really exciting.
Yeah.
And I was doing this one joke that I had been using all summer about Superman, and I had never heard anybody do it before. And I was like the first one up on the show, and so I did my set, and it all went really well. The Superman thing went really well, and I got off. And then this guy came up to me, who I later found out was the headliner. So this sucked. And he was kind of not that nice about it, but he like pulled me out of the hall and he was like, "Hey, listen, you can't do that Superman joke anymore." And he like named a comedian, some guy I've never heard of in my life, and I was like, "Oh man!" And so like that kind of like ruined the night for me. But then I like looked the guy up on YouTube, and I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same." My version I thought was funnier, but I can't use it because it's basically the same. Yeah. I got really mad at how poorly he delivers his own joke. I'm like, come on, man. But yeah, like, it's just like sometimes you overlap with other people.
It is bound to happen, you know, like as anything kind of expands, any genre of anything that has, I mean, more specifically, I guess, artistic things, you know, like whether it's like actual traditional paintings and stuff like that, or if it's comedy or whatever. The longer that the world exists, the more overlaps there's bound to be. Only because people will think very similarly. You know, it's bound to happen. You know, like everyone sees the same. I mean, I don't know what your joke about Superman was, but like people see.
It was hilarious. Let me tell you.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
It was.
But like, you know, everyone knows about Batman versus Superman or the Justice League or whatever. You see it in the mainstream, and then you'll go watch the movie, and then you want to talk about how bad it was, or you want to talk about Superman in specific, just in general, and it kind of like triggers something, and then someone else has that exact same thought because, you know, whatever, like Batman versus Superman sucks shit, and that was your joke. Just pretend that's what it was. Someone else has that thought because that movie did suck shit, first of all. Right. But you know, like it's gonna happen. Yeah, and that's fine. Like you're not maliciously doing it, you know.
Yeah, I think once you get used to going to open mics and you can kind of like get a sense of like something will happen, and then you're like, oh man, everybody's gonna be talking about this, and then you hear like a lot of the same jokes. And for me, the challenge is if I'm gonna talk about that, like a lot of times I'm not even gonna bother. Right. But it's like if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna try to find like a really unique angle. Otherwise, like it just like that's like the challenge to me, the writing challenge. And I think for someone like Amy Schumer, it's my own opinion, it seems to me that some of the material was stolen, but then I think what happens is like a lot of people get all amped up, like, oh, so then they like find all these other similarities and like, oh, and you stole this and you stole this and you stole it. I'm like, well, I mean, some of these are just like shitty jokes, and a lot of people, you know what I mean, like similar premise. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, she stole everything, you know what I mean? I think some of it's like kind of like the evidence is kind of damning, but.
So is there a line of the parallel thinking is what I've seen a lot of, like, okay, like obviously the topic today is Trump. Like a lot of people have different jokes on Trump. That's just the way it is. And then, so like a lot of people have jokes about it. Yeah,
you know, I like to talk about how his hair is funny. Nobody's ever talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you kind of have to avoid some of these like really hot button topics like politics and religion because a lot of people have the same ideas about these huge topics.
Mm-hmm. Unless you think of something that like is super. I like really weird humor, so I just like if I can think of something that like
something different, right? Because that's what I do. Most of my jokes are about me. I think that's the best way to avoid plagiarism.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple other like general observation ones. But I think that it's a line of just knowing to not talk about something. Like obviously, like something like Trump or something else. Like it's so big, so you just it's not really stealing. It's just being a bad comic because you don't know, like you don't realize. Oh, everybody's gonna be joking about this. So
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think to a certain extent, like if someone really wants to like put the work in of being a comedian, like you have to do a little research.
yeah,
If it's, I mean, sometimes you think it's something like, okay, I'm pretty sure nobody's ever done that before, but then if it's like a one-liner or something, like I often will like Google it or look it up on Twitter. I've lost a couple of good jokes that way. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And that's just yeah. But some people, like the people who actually like knowingly plagiarize, are the worst people ever.
And some were like too obvious to do. Like a couple of Amy Schumer's, they were like, they either happened the same year as another comic. I think with Louis C.K. there was one where they got compared. I was like, it's the same year and like a couple months. Like maybe they just had the same idea. But then I see others like. There was one I saw about Carlos Mencia and Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby
the
was
football
like...
thing.
Yeah, the football one, yeah. And one was from the 80s, and then Mencia's was from like 20 years later in the early 2000s. Like,
and the it's so similar with the plot.
Yeah.
And not only
cadence.
that, Bill Cosby was super popular.
Right.
So it's
Bill
not
Cosby
like you
was
didn't
huge, yeah.
know.
He's
That
like, I
existed.
never saw that. Like you did
Bullshit.
exactly, and it's not a short joke. It's like a long.
It's
bit,
a long,
and
it's
exactly
a running
the
joke.
same,
There's a cadence involved, there's rhythm, there's pausing, all that stuff. And I'm like, 20 years later is kind of hard to defend. Because if you don't see this joke from one of the biggest comedians
Ever.
back in the day, not now, obviously, but...
But I mean, if somebody's gonna be like stupid enough to like, I'm gonna steal this person's joke, they're not gonna also be like, yeah, you got me.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
No, like
yeah.
they're just liars. That's what. But there's a lot of that on Twitter and stuff, you know, with,
Twitter's
like
super good.
or like Instagram with like the fat Jew, I think is his handle. The Fat Jewish or
I've heard
something.
of him.
And
I know
Fuck
it,
Jerry is another one, and they're always like, it's like screenshots of people's jokes, and they have like the username cropped off.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit this out.
Leave it in, man.
No, that's staying. Nice background.
There's an ambulance stuck in traffic right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's what's going on.
I guess kind of what my
No, you don't have an opinion.
I guess kind of like what I was saying.
Keep talking. It's so funny.
I guess kind of like what I was thinking when you guys were talking about that is, how do you feel about like sketch comedy shows? Like so, like originally, where there was like the Chappelle Show, you know, back 15 whatever years ago, and then there's like Key and Peele, and I actually watched the Chappelle Show Netflix special thing,
I just finished the second one last night.
and I thought it was hilarious, by the
Yeah.
way. But I remember him mentioning one thing about them like copying his sketch idea thing,
Well,
and Carlos Mencia did it too. And like,
Wait, what did they copy?
I don't think they cut, unless you're talking about
I
something
haven't heard
different.
anything about that.
In Chappelle's, I think it was his first special, the ones that just released, that just dropped
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. He talks about that he was away for 8 years, and the joke he makes is, I had to watch Key and Peele do my show for 8 years.
Right.
You know, because that's what I don't know if he was.
Which is
that's
kind
the
of-
joke. That's what I was talking
okay.
about.
I don't
yeah.
know if he's accusing them of stealing or just saying that.
I didn't get to
I mean,
see
they're
that
similar
movie.
styles, yes,
they're
but
just
I mean,
two black comedians doing a sketch show.
Right.
That's kind of like where I thought that like he was kind of the pioneer as far as like incorporating him. He would do like a little stand up during the show, and then like having the sketches with it.
mhm.
And then, like, now all of a sudden there's all these shows that are trying to do that. So that's where I thought he was kind of meaning with that joke. That they're the new black comedians that have a sketch show that are, like, the hit thing now.
Which is, I get Chappelle's, like, anger, I guess, about it, but, I mean, they're two...
Yeah, I don't even know if he's angry about it. I think he just
Or-
made that joke as a joke. I don't think
Yeah.
he has any...
animals.
I could be wrong. I'm not Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, but, I mean,
So-
they're very separate.
Yeah.
I don't think this is plagiarism at all. They basically just used
Yeah.
the same foundation, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was some kind of skeleton a way to produce and make a show.
Yeah.
And they did it very similarly, but the sketches themselves are very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thought process that Dave Chappelle has versus Key and Peele are vastly
Right.
different. Like, Key and Peele are really weird, quirky, just mental dudes, right? But, like, Dave Chappelle was, like, really in your face, and he was really, I don't know, he was very abrasive with a lot of the ways that he kind of approached things, you know?
Sketch theft is definitely real though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I know that was one of the. I've seen it a couple of cases where it happened on Saturday Night Live, and then there was like an article about it. And, like, this was like I don't know if it was Second City or some troop in Chicago, and then it was like, oh my god, it's like the same thing.
Is that plagiarism though, or is it? Because I don't know who did it. I don't know what sketches you're talking about, but I know a lot of people come from Chicago and end up on SNL.
Yeah,
So are they just repeating their jokes with new people, or is it like?
oh no,
straight
if they're
theft?
using something that was written by a different group,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
That's-
like,
yeah.
like somebody who wasn't part of the group saw it,
Yeah.
and then they did it. So is that what you're talking about, or is it someone from? Like,
I don't
just did it on
remember.
SNL? Okay.
So the one
I'm just
specific
curious.
example I remember was not from SNL. It's actually from Amy Schumer again. Although, but it was on her show, so like it doesn't mean she's the one who wrote it. Like somebody else.
Yeah.
But it was comparing a sketch from her show to a sketch from Mad TV.
Oh yeah,
And,
the retail one.
Yeah, it's like trying to remember the name of a black sales associate,
Yeah.
and then it's like a white customer getting all awkward. But it's like almost exactly the same. Like how like the pacing and like
Everything.
it's just it's so similar. So it's like this is not a coincidence because
Yeah.
if you like if I wrote a very similar joke about Superman from that guy, but it wasn't like the same exact structure that he delivered it. It was better, but it was like, you know, yeah.
I think that's the most damaging thing, though, for Amy Schumer in terms of the whole plagiarism. Is like there's so much evidence of her sharing the same jokes with people, which whatever, okay, that can happen. But the most damaging part is that she literally has the exact same way that she says it, the same pacing, the same pauses, the same cadence, everything. The way she delivers it is exactly the same as some of these other comedians. And that's really hard to argue that it wasn't plagiarized. You know,
I would
like,
believe like even like for something shorter, like with like the Dane Cook stuff,
Mhm.
there was like 3 jokes I guess that he stole from Louis C.K.
they were like really quick things, though.
Right.
The
Yeah.
kid
And
one.
I would believe that like something because I think it's happened to me before where like you see something you forget it and then you
That was my.
And
You
that,
write
that was
it.
Yeah.
actually Amy's defense was that, you know, like if you see something, you kind of repress it, and then it becomes like some kind of distant memory that, you know, years down the road you kind of access, and then like, oh, this shit's funny. I should
yeah
use
you
this.
just gotta figure that stuff out before you film a special.
Yeah.
You
Well, yeah,
gotta,
that's-
Also that,
that's
and also
my line,
stop
too.
making fucking dick jokes and jokes about your vagina. They're not funny.
Yeah.
They're not.
I mean, yeah, it just. So I guess that line is if you do think it's something, you need to research it first, right? Like that's the same with anything in life. Like in college, we had to MLA format everything, or
Yep.
APA format everything.
Turn in a citation page, everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes you had to submit to the that one website. What the hell was
Turn
it
it
called?
in.
Turn it in, yeah. Like, it goes through an automated process of did you steal shit from someone? Did you plagiarize? You know, what's the percentage?
Like,
I like when they do that with like the White House staff speeches or like Melania Trump and all that. They don't understand how plagiarism works.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, Obama plagiarized this, and they're like, well, that's just a greeting.
Yeah, so it's hard in comedy though because you can't really, like, I don't say a joke and then I write Kinsella comedy like 2015. Like I don't cite my sources on stage, so it's like that is something like you can't say this is exactly when somebody did this because someone could come up with something and then do a special like 2 years later, and then in that meantime someone else say something and then claim like comedian A versus comedian B. Like A does it but doesn't film a special until 2 years later, and then B does it like first on a special, and then they see B special when really A wrote it down first.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say who did what when
There's
unless there's
sorry, go ahead.
stories apart.
I would say I'm wondering, is there any sense of flattery though, if you were the one who came up with that kind of joke and someone else used it to being like, oh, this must be like really good to have other people want to take this from me? Do you think? From your
Probably
guys'
not.
standpoints?
I've never heard anybody be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it feels great that like
Yeah.
they're stealing my material and not yours." Ha ha ha.
I think there's some. I get like Dana Carvey said it in his newest special. Like he had a joke and he wrote it and then gave it to John Lovitz, and then John Lovitz was like, I don't want to do it, so he kept it. So I think in that regard, if someone said, hey, like I think this would fit my style better, because everybody has a different style.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like if I say a joke that maybe doesn't work with my delivery, but someone else was like, hey, like if I say it this way, do you think I could take it? That's fine. I would find flattering in that.
Okay.
But if I were to do something and then they just take it without my knowledge, I'd be like,
Oh yeah, there's a difference for writing. That's totally appropriate. Like I've gotten jokes from other people, and I've given jokes to other people.
yeah, like that's just it's
But
kind
that
of
happens. Like you guys are in the trade, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're whatever, it doesn't even matter. Like you could be a welder, right? And then like you do like some specific weld on some specific material really well, and then like some other guy's like, hey man, I need some help like with this thing that you're like really highly specialized in or whatever. It's like the same kind of thing. Like people will offer their services to each other within a trade, right? You know, like artists do it all the time.
That's what writers for like late night do.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
basically their whole job is like writing jokes for somebody else.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's his name? He writes for Modern Family and Parks and Rec. Joe Mandy, I think his name is. He's cameoed a couple times too, but he's a writer for like his Twitter bio is like just every show he's ever written for, so he's not a specific writer for Modern Family. And then Parks and Rec was like, hey, this joke would fit better for Leslie Knope than
Yeah.
Phil Dunphy. You know, he just writes it
Oh, cool. Okay.
and then delivers it out.
That's awesome. I actually have a joke I haven't tested yet. 'Cause it's brand new, but it was I put a joke on Twitter, and then one of my followers like responded, like riffed on it, and I thought it was really funny. So I messaged her and was like, "Hey, do you care if I try this on stage?"
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Yeah, this is totally. I've never written a joke before." Like, well, I'll let you know how it goes.
I think with social media it's hard though, because I've done a couple one-liners on Facebook and Twitter, and they don't really work, or vice versa. Like I did one about the Maryland flag being everywhere because it's Maryland, and I said on Twitter, I said it's like a blue light on campus. You know, no matter where you are, you have to see three of them, right? And that a lot of people liked that on Twitter, but then I said it on stage, and nobody laughed. And I was like, well, it's funny on Twitter, like, but
Yeah.
it kind of like doesn't translate the same. I think maybe one-liners are better. It just
It also depends on the audience too.
Yeah,
You know,
Right, I
like,
was gonna say that.
yeah,
like if you're specifically talking about the Towson campus, you know,
yeah.
which I think you were. I don't know if anyone.
going to Towson, but I mean it's a common thing in all colleges to have a blue light or some type of system.
Well, I didn't know if that was a common thing to have everywhere. I mean, like I get the concept, but I didn't know like it was the same color and everything.
I don't
You
know
should
if
write a
it's the same
joke
color.
about it. I'm trying to start a rivalry.
Yeah.
And then I think that, like, with most people, I think there's, like, an understanding about the overlap. Because, like, even if you watch, like, a bunch of different, like, late-night talk shows, they're riffing on current events. And
Yeah,
so,
current events is always the biggest one. I
Yeah.
try to avoid writing about current events personally, just because I know so many other people are gonna.
Yeah.
Like I literally I haven't even tried it out yet. I have one Trump joke in my arsenal, and I have a Chris Christie joke as well. But I feel like not a lot of people joke about Chris Christie
Right.
as much as they do Trump.
I got a really good one about Dan Quayle. I have a few Trump jokes. One of them has been going really well lately, and I've not heard anybody do it, but I'm kind of surprised nobody's done it. So I'm just kind of like rolling with it
Yeah.
until you know, it's just a Trump joke, like,
Yeah.
but it gets a good response usually.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with Todd, because like I had joked about I have a few baseball jokes, and I actually did one, and then I talked to Chris Lawrence. I don't know if I can name drop him or not, but
How dare you?
yeah.
He's stealing your jokes.
Yeah. No, he didn't. He actually, I was talking to him, me and my friend Jeff were talking to him after a show at Wits End, and he was like, I like it, but maybe you should add this line to make it just a little more funnier. And then I added it, and I was like, oh, that did make it funnier. You know, so he's just helping me out. He's not really.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've gotten a couple things like that.
Yeah.
I love when people offer like suggestions. I don't like when it's like people who aren't comics and
That
they're just
bugs
like
me.
talk to you about a bit that's already working, and then you're like, you know what you really need to do? Make it worse. Like,
that actually happened to me. It was last week. It wasn't this past Tuesday, but last Tuesday, I joke about my job, and I won't say where, but I work at a school, and I joke about it on stage. I say it at school, and I say different things about it on stage, and then this guy, I never met him before. He was at the bar and was sitting next to me, and he's like, "You really missed like an opportunity with this joke. Like, you could probably say stuff about molestation." And I was like, "No, like I'm not gonna joke about that." I was
wow,
like,
that sounds great.
yeah, like, oh, thanks, man. I never thought of that.
I never thought about that.
Like that thought didn't even cross my mind, and then he wrote it up. I'm like, I'm not that person. I was like, what?
Were you like, can I send
Ew.
you all my jokes and you just add molestation to everything? That'll be my whole thing now.
I'll be known as the the comedian diddler. Or something.
I'll be known as a normal open mic comedian.
So as, because I know, Dave and Blake, do you sense something, like maybe something is stolen or something isn't going right on stage if you're watching someone? Besides an open mic is a different, but if you're watching a special on Netflix or something live, you ever like have this feeling like something might be off here, or maybe you heard this joke before or something?
I usually can't tell if it's stolen, but I usually can tell, obviously, if there's something not going right, just because the way that, if they're like you were saying, America's Got Talent, I usually watch that show, and I'll see them, like you were saying, be really comfortable in their audition. You know, the second round, when it's just the judges, be fine. Then they get out for that third audition during the live shows. They'll say one joke that's supposed to be funny. They'll get no reaction, and instead of like being able to, maneuver, maybe change up something that's not working, and then they try to stick with that same material that's not working, and it just makes everyone cringe. And you're like, he's trying too hard. They're trying too hard, and that's when I can tell, like. And judges will say that too. Like they'll say, I noticed that like after your first joke, it wasn't getting good feedback, but a good comedian is able to like maneuver, change up what their material is, and not just try to stick with something even though it's not working. So that's kind of how I usually feel about it. But
I definitely feel like I watch a lot of specials and I watch a lot of comedic specials more specifically. So I think it is kind of easy to tell if someone's stealing something. I could tell that Amy Schumer was, like, during her specials, and I couldn't really find any in her new one because I was too busy vomiting all over the place while I was watching it, and wanting to stab my ears until they don't work anymore. But yeah, but in general, I think it's kind of easy because if you watch a lot of material, you kind of have this basis of knowledge, and if you are like, hey, wait, that sounds familiar, and then you just Google something real quick, and you're like, oh shit, I was right. Like, that was pretty blatantly obvious that was a stolen joke. But I don't know. A lot of the times, I guess, more specifically on Netflix, it's like, they're rated out of 5 stars, which will be switching.
They were rated.
They were, yeah.
Now
Right.
it's thumbs up, thumbs down.
So you can kind of tell which ones are good and which ones are bad, right? So if it's like 1-star special,
does it keep count like on YouTube or something, or does it just?
I'm not sure. They just
Yeah, I'm
changed
not
it
sure.
this week, so I don't know how it works.
it like literally just changed it.
Yeah,
but,
it's weird.
But
So,
yeah, like if it has the 1 star, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to watch this and pay attention to every joke.
mm-hmm.
I don't want to watch it.
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
how
shitty,
that's how I feel about shows and stuff too. Like certain things I know are going to be good, and others I don't. But sometimes it's just like, well, I don't know any of this. Like I don't know this comedian. There are some specials of comedians I haven't heard of, so I'm like, maybe I'll check them out. But then they get like 2.5 stars or something like that. So it's kind of like maybe, but probably not. But then others. Like, I think Chris D'Elia's special actually has a below average.
It's 3 stars.
Yeah, it's 3 stars, which isn't great.
Is that on Netflix?
It is. Incorrigible's on Netflix, yeah.
But, I mean, again, that if you kind of pull yourself out of your bias, it makes sense, because Chris D'Elia is not for everyone, right? Like, he's a very wacky, out there kind of guy.
Yeah, and he also
he's not a
does
straight
he will call
shooter.
you out. Although he has liked many of my tweets.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, I
we're
know who that
besties
guy
now.
is.
So, like, it's not, it's not it's not for everyone. Like a Louis. Well, I mean, I guess Louis C.K. isn't for everyone either because he's really
rides a line.
yeah.
Apparently, his monologue last night on SNL was like no holds barred. I didn't watch it. I haven't seen the video of it yet.
I thought he already did that once.
But yeah, like someone like Kevin Hart who appeals to the masses, like it's really hard to kind of argue that his specials don't deserve a 5-star or something like that, you know, because he's funny, and it's not like a specific group of people that he's trying to target, you know. So, but like Amy Schumer, she's trying to appeal to the masses, but she's
Trying too hard.
trying too hard or just not funny in general. The only reason I watched her special, and it has 1 star on Netflix, or had 1 star on Netflix, was because of all the controversy about it, how bad it was. I think the truck agreed. But like it was so bad, I had to watch it. Kind of like Snakes on the Plane, right? You know, it was like,
Snakes
all
on
right,
the
Samuel
Plane
L.
is a
Jackson.
classic. Right?
Exactly.
The only way Snakes on a Plane could be better if Idris Elba played the lead in that movie.
I sense we've stumbled into something that you guys have talked about
It's
before.
It's
a
a running
running
joke.
joke. We always have to mention Idris Elba at some point.
Yeah,
in
because
the-
the first one we were talking about movies in our first episode, we were talking about TV, not
Yeah,
movies,
TV.
TV, and we were bringing up Luke Cage, and one of our other friends thought Idris Elba played Luke Cage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now every episode we mention Idris
That'd be
Elba
fascinating.
in some way or another.
I really wanted Idris Elba to be the next James Bond.
He still might be.
Oh, really? I thought that was a...
Well, I mean, it depends on how many more movies they make. I guess.
Those old episodes where he was on The Office
Oh, yeah.
are like my absolute favorite. I didn't realize how
Great.
funny they were until
Yeah,
I
didn't.
rewatched
That was
them.
the first time I saw him, so I didn't know he was British, and then I saw him in like
Oh, okay.
in like Luther and like other things. I was like, oh, he's
He's
British.
so funny on
But,
that.
like,
on The Office. Yeah.
Are they just gonna make new? And this is a big tangent, I guess. I'm just kind of curious as to the answer. Are they gonna make new storylines for Bond? Because all of the books have been written.
Well, they
About
the
Bond.
past 4 movies were off.
Really? I thought Skyfall and all that
Quantum
stuff
of Solace, Skyfall, and Spectre, where Casino Royale is the last.
was the
one
last book.
based off a book.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right.
Well, Casino Royale was actually the first book written,
Correct.
but the last,
Last
movie
movie made.
based off the books.
Mm-hmm.
And then apparently Daniel Craig didn't want to do it anymore. But then I saw
Did
on
3
Reddit.
extra movies.
No, I mean after Spectre. After
Oh, okay.
when that just came out, yeah. He didn't want, but then I saw on Reddit, which is a super valid place to find all your information, that he got talked into coming back for one more movie. So if they make more movies after that, then maybe Idris Elba
They probably will. I mean,
or Natalie Dormer. Wouldn't mind seeing her
as James Bond.
as anything.
As anything. Oh, dude, she could be a Bond girl.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm all for that. That was the biggest tangent I think we
Yeah, we kind of went off topic pretty hard on that one.
That's all right. If it meant we talked about Natalie Dormer, I'm okay with it.
We got Idris Elba in.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah.
Or you guys have any questions?
Yeah, do you guys have any last questions?
More thoughts?
or anything, or about-
Did you ever see the Maya Rudolph and Martin Short were doing that sketch show? And
It was on Fox, I think?
I don't remember, but Jerry Seinfeld was a guest star on one,
I
and so they
didn't
did a sketch that was like comedians in cars getting coffee, and they were just like rotating through different comedians. Like
I've
for
heard
each
about this.
scene.
I heard it's hilarious.
They got to one where it's like a YouTube comedian, and there's like this guy with like bleached hair and being completely obnoxious, and Jerry just stops the car and he's like, "Get out!" It's so good.
I was watching that new show Crashing on HBO. I don't know.
I keep hearing good things.
It's really Pete Holmes is really funny. He's like this Christian, rich Christian comedian who's awkward, and in the first 5 minutes his wife cheats on him, so
Yeah.
he's crashing on other people's houses until he gets back on his feet and stuff. But there's that one line. He gets recommended by what's her name, Sarah Silverman, for a
Ugh.
job. Right, and he's like, "Oh, Sarah Silverman requested me." And he's like, "Oh, is Jerry Seinfeld going to come in too? Or are you just going to get in a car and get coffee together?" And Pete Holmes is like, "I get the reference, but I don't think that was that funny."
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman.
Crashing is a good show, though.
I've been told I have to watch it because I actually I was like I was gonna be a pastor. I was like on that career path for a very long time, and then I just kind of like I graduated
comedy,
from seminary
this is-
like 6 months before I started performing.
Oh.
But at that point, I was like, yeah, this is not gonna be what I do. So then we like moved. We were up in New York, and we moved to Baltimore, me and my wife,
Oh.
and that was a very confusing time. And then that's when I started doing stand up. So like one of my friends was like, "Dan, you have to watch this show. They stole your story." I was like, "Well, they didn't steal it."
Yeah.
Tie into the plagiarism.
Plagiarism.
Full circle.
Callbacks.
Does that make you Amy Schumer?
I hope not.
Oh, no. it doesn't.
Pete Holmes would be Amy Schumer in
Yeah,
this case.
I guess so. You'd be the actual good comedian that Amy Schumer took the joke from.
I don't know that Amy Schumer and I, even on our best day, would be in the same like. Wait, on our best day. Let me not put myself on the same level as Amy Schumer, even with all the controversy. She is still a professional comedian, and I am an unknown comedian in Baltimore. I'm not like. Yeah, I'll go toe to toe with Amy Schumer.
The mega superstar
Yeah.
of plagiarism.
Yeah.
I'm not a comedian.
I have
either,
$200
so I'll
in my
tear her
checking
apart.
account.
She's
Let's
a
do
bitch.
this.
Yeah. Yeah,
And her jokes aren't funny.
so any final thoughts on comedy in general? Anything we talked about today? Any last things? Doesn't have to be-
Clarification.
Yeah, things like Idris Elba.
Or you could just shout out all your social medias.
yeah, Dan, if you want to promote.
Wanna do
David, if
that.
you have anything to promote.
At DMendio2 on Twitter. Comedy it's kind of like, it's an art, and just, I guess, kind of talking with two people that do it regularly, it's like you can really appreciate how much hard work and the process it does take to be a successful comedian. So I admire that, and it definitely, like, anyone out there that's a comedian, I respect what you do, and that's my thoughts.
If you would like to find my stuff online, you can go to danisfunny.com. It's for real.
/ for real.
/ GeoCities. No, danisfunny.com, and then I don't know when does this come out? My first headlining gig is on Wednesday, so I've been eager to.
Did you want this out by Wednesday? Or did
Oh
you,
God,
did
no!
you-
Put it out whenever you want, but I
like-
just was excited to say that I'm headlining at the Auto Bar.
See,
really
okay.
excited.
Oh, you were
Yeah.
promoting. Yeah. Okay.
Wednesday, April 12th. If that's in the past, then get yourself a time machine,
Get the TARDIS.
and
And
please.
if you do get a time machine, let us have it. Because then that's some interesting material
Oh,
for next week.
Oh yeah.
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 So we went back in dinosaur times.
We interviewed a T-Rex.
Did not go well, if you know what I mean.
I can go back in time and then claim my jokes as my own.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Or you can go back in time and get Idris Elba as a baby.
Yeah, go back to vaudeville era and then go on stage like, anybody here on Tinder? You guys?
So Trump.
By the way, he becomes our president.
Yeah. Well, you know me being on the podcast for
Yeah.
6 weeks now. I think 6 episodes in. Twitter at Kinsella Comedy. Facebook, either me or Kinsella Comedy. Snapchat, TubaTim817. It's the one I can't change to fit everything else. I've tried. I haven't got a website yet. Trying to eventually get on Dan's level of getting a website.
I'm trying to get on Dan's website.
I'm trying to get on Dan's website.
It's a little
He's
tab on
looking
the
for
side that
a
says
supporting
Tim.
role on the website.
DanIsfunny.com/Tim.
My super professional level of buying a domain on the internet.
GoDaddy.
Hack his website, change all of the the icons that say like the Twitter. You click on it and it goes to your.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go, yeah.
I could just do that for you tonight, and your traffic will go down.
Yeah.
There'll be nothing.
I have no headlining or hosting or anything. I usually show up at Wits End in Timonium Tuesday nights because it's right next to my apartment.
Wow, and now you're gonna die.
This week,
is my spring break, or maybe it was last week, depending on when this comes out. So I'll hopefully get out to more shows, probably open mics, check out other things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it on my end.
I mean, you guys already know all my stuff. This is week 6. Technically the 7th episode, but one hasn't been released. We're saving that for a special rainy occasion. Which might be soon, because that was funny. That needs to come out. That was hilarious.
We'll discuss that episode 1A.
Yeah, 1.5. So
Idris Elba actually shows up.
Yeah, right. We teased Idris Elba, but he already showed up.
He was way drunk.
I've tweeted at him the past 2 weeks, no response.
3 times the charm.
Probably still drunk.
Maybe I'll tweet Chris D'Elia. He seems to like more of my tweets. So.
See, there you go. So, I don't have any final thoughts about this. I kind of think I got everything out.
Yeah, I guess that is it. Awkward outros.
As always.
As always. Trademark. Sqwadcast.
Out.
Thing. Squad out.